So happy to be here. Thrilled to be here. Thanks for the invite. It is a company holiday, and I showed up today because I get to,
Love it.
not because I have to, because I get to. And when you guys invite, like I'm there for you any way I can possibly be there for you. All right. So how do you want to go today? You want me to just let it rip
Just,
to you?
You know
just
what?
Or
do just do your thing, buddy.
Show us, agent, how to make marketing like our priority for 2025 and beyond.
okay, good. And if by the end we could all look as sexy as Jim Lambright, we're doing good, right?
That's the goal. That's everybody's goal.
Just got to be a sexy beast. Somebody's got to lead the way, Jim, and you got it nailed down there, brother. All right, so let's go a little bit of a different angle at this right out of the gate. A lot of people start giving you tasks to do. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to stop what you're doing and I want you to evaluate. So let's go through three, E cubed, right? Number one, step number one. I want you to evaluate. What am I doing? How many of you guys every day you get to the end of the day and you're like, God, I don't know what to do with myself. I've got so much time on my hands. I've got nothing to do. I'm bored out of my head. Gosh, I wish I had more things I could do every day. How many of you guys have that? Exactly, right? No, so like let's start writing down a list of the things you do. If you guys have not done a self-business evaluation and evaluate what are you doing on a day-to-day basis, I want you to go super simple, low tech. You can go as low tech as this here, grab a piece of paper, right? And start writing a list down of the things that you do. And I want you to make a list every day for like a week of all of the things that you do. It's super imperative that number one, we understand what are we actually doing on a day-to-day basis, right? So I want you to put down there, I sat in front of a television for 2 hours, right? If you did that, you put that down. If I sat on Facebook and scrolled like a zombie for 2 hours, I want you to write that down. If you sat down and had a glass of wine with a friend, if you did whatever you're doing, right? If you're out running around, if you're out chasing stuff, I want everything in your life to go on this list. So what are you really doing? So what I end up finding is that most people, when I ask them, was like, "What did you do last week?" They hit a couple of high points, low points, or they hit whatever they think I want to hear. When in fact, the things that they tell me they do are a very small cross section of what they actually are doing. Okay, so two things you need to have. You need to have your business list of the things you're evaluating, and you need to have your personal list of the things you're evaluating. Right? Did you go to the gym? Yes. And they're like, well, I blocked out 1 hour for the gym. That's probably not real. When somebody's like, I've blocked out 1 hour for the gym, I'm like, okay, how far away is the gym? 10 minutes. Cool. There's 10 minutes there, 10 minutes back. That means you got 40 minutes left. If it takes you 3 minutes to check in, that means you got 37 minutes left. You're telling me you did your whole workout in 37 minutes? Cool. And you're back out the door immediately? Cool. And you didn't break a sweat? No. And you didn't need to take a shower? No. You didn't need to. Do you see how we've got to start getting realistic on what we're doing? A lot of times we'll say, I just need 1 hour for workout. Listen, if you're doing it in your house, you might be able to pull that off. Maybe that is a solution for you. But we need to start evaluating what are we really doing on a day-to-day basis. And I want you to pay special attention to what you're doing on your stupid phone. Okay? Guys, I want you to start looking at this thing a little bit different. This is a tool. And I will tell you this, like my wife and I were giggling last night. Like she's like, "Do you remember when we were young?" And I was like, "God, honey, it wasn't that long ago." She's like, "No, no. Do you remember when we didn't have phones with us everywhere we went?" My wife and I had the pleasure of going to a wedding last weekend in on Marathon Key, and she was just like, "You know what was really great about those 4 days? I really didn't touch my phone a whole lot, aside from using it to take pictures and so forth. I really didn't touch my phone a whole lot." And it reminded me that there is so much peace and so much space in this world when I don't have this thing constantly driving me nuts. So I want you guys to start looking at your cell phone and start utilizing it as a tool. If this was a hammer in my tool bucket and it jumped up out of my tool bucket every 30 seconds, it smacked me in the head, I would take that hammer, I would saw the handle off it, I'd stick the other part of it in my forge and beat the crap out of it until it was a steak knife. Right? So, like, if you start to look at this as a tool and not it using you, it changes the way you see what you're doing. So, how often are you actually putting your phone and putting your computer on focus mode? So guys, like first thing I do before I go on here is I go into my computer and I slide all the way to the top right, and I get these little two slide bars because it's a Mac, and and I click on that, and it allows me to put this thing in focus mode. A lot of you guys will say this to me, and I've heard this many, many times in coaching. Well, Russ, you don't understand. I've got 4 kids, and you don't understand. I had 3 brothers, man. We didn't die if we couldn't get in touch with mom in 30 seconds. Right? Having that sense of being on your own and having that sense of I have to solve problems myself. I'm not just going to call in a solution, or I have to constantly be 100% available for everybody. That does not make your life a better place. Being able to separate from this stuff and your phone gives you the ability to actually have some space to think. We don't come up with our best stuff in the midst of chaos. We typically come up with our best stuff when we get those moments of peace. By the way, you want to really start solving some problems? Go take a long walk. Take a long walk and don't put on earbuds. Take a long walk and don't put on a podcast. Take a long walk and just be with yourself. Try to think about nothing. And what happens is in that space when you're trying to think about nothing, that's when things start popping into your head. So you might want to bring a piece of paper and a pencil with you. Bring a pen and a little notepad, scribble down a note, stop for 20 seconds, scribble down a note. You might be shocked and surprised the solutions that you come up with when you give your brain the space to actually solve problems. But the first step of this is evaluating, what am I really doing? So if I say to you, hey, I want you to add 3 things in your business right now, most of you would be like, yeah. And then you get to tomorrow and you're like, when? Like, I don't have time for 3 more things in my business. Every time we get somebody on a new Zoom, they tell us more stuff to do. Okay. So here's what in step number 2 is. After you've evaluated, I want you to eliminate. I want you to eliminate. I want you to start looking at that list and saying, do I really need to do that? Does that really get me where I want to go? Does that really put me in a spot where I'm feeling inspired? I'm feeling in charge. I'm feeling in control. I'm feeling like I'm moving the ball. Now, there are some things in our business that don't feel like what they're actually doing. So the building business part, that prospecting part, that adding stuff, there's a lot of that. I'm doing, and boom, that's when you get the result. So I don't want you to just eliminate stuff that isn't giving you an immediate result, but I want you to eliminate the things that I know long-term are not actually going to get me to where I want to go. Those small little things that really, I cannot tie any of this to success. I ask this question all the time to people when I'm coaching them. I'll say, all right, so what are you doing? They tell me what they're doing. Good. Is that working? The answer is, I don't know. Okay, so let's talk about it. If I continue to do that consistently every day or every week for the next 12 months, do I have a good, legitimate reason to believe that this is going to continue to work or this is going to work? And if the answer is yes, then I can keep some of those things in my life. If the answer is no, then I'm going to stop doing those things. I had this conversation with somebody last week and I said, okay, so what are you doing? And they're like, boom. I was like, how long have you been doing it? And they're like, my whole career. I'm like, how long have you been doing this? 12 years? You've been doing this for 12 years. Can you tie one closing to that? And the answer was no. So why are you spending that much time, energy, and effort on something that is not converting? And they're like, that's a good question. Because if I feel like I need to do it. Like, do you need to do it for what? For why? If you need to do it because it makes you feel connected, great. But you're not doing it because you're building your business. It's making you feel good, but it's not actually helping you build your business. So we've got to stop doing things that aren't actually building our business if they're not serving some other purpose in our life. Now, listen, guys, I'm not saying stop going to church because you don't get business from it. I'm not saying do any of that. Like, if going to church fills your soul, cool, leave it on your list. But if you're saying, hey, I'm building my business with that, and you've not got a single closing out of it, that's not a business building activity. That's a soul building activity. I'm all for that because we're not just salespeople. Because there's a lot more to this, okay? So I want you to start figuring out, what can I eliminate? Okay, so do I want to eliminate all of the things that don't serve my business? No. Your business is the tool to help you live an amazing life. So I don't want you to eliminate the things that make you feel like you have an amazing life. I want you to free yourself up from the things that aren't actually making your life better and aren't making your business better and aren't making your family better and aren't making your relationships better. If you free yourself up for some of that, then you can reapportion that. For some of you guys, you need to stop doing some of this business nonsense that's not actually making you have more business and go do things that are more fun. You are not a realtor 24/7. You are a human being 24/7. You happen to be a realtor to be able to facilitate a financial picture that allows you to be the human that you want to be and live the life that you want to live. So we've got to have our stuff in the right and proper proportion so that we actually have the time to do the things that are important. If watching television is something that you do regularly and it's not building your relationships and it's not building your business and it's not helping you get slimmer, faster, stronger, better, you might want to think about eliminating that or back it way down, or only watch television when you're on a treadmill, or only watch television when you're on a stationary bike, or only watch television on your phone while you're walking. Move more, right? So I want you to start eliminating some things. Okay. And then once you get some things eliminated, then what I want you to do is I want you to execute. Okay. A lot of people say, I'm going to add this, 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 and this to my business. Boom, execute. If you don't evaluate what you're currently doing and allow yourself the space to eliminate some things, you're not going to have the time, energy, and effort to be able to execute. And what'll happen is you'll do it for a day or two or three, or maybe a week or two or three, and then you're just going to run out of time. Every single day you're running out of time because you've got so much noise. So what I want you to start thinking is, how do I remove as much noise as I can and start doing more things that actually give me the ability to connect in a more meaningful way? For some of you guys, you know what the best business building activity you could possibly do right now is? Joining a pickleball league. You're like, Russ, I thought you were going to talk about building business. Yes. Okay, so I want you guys to start seeing business building in real estate. A lot of people call it prospecting. I don't call it prospecting. A lot of people call it cold calling. I don't call it cold calling, right? I call this business building, right? In the process of building my business, what do I need for me to do more business? I need more people. So if I can set up my life and start to execute a plan where all the things that I'm doing are actually putting me in front of more people and adding people to my system, now I've got a business building activity. So could I don't know, start doing bourbon tasting all the time? Somebody does that way more than they should probably. I don't even think it's business anymore. It's just bourbon drinking. Okay. Could I set up a scenario where I do bourbon tastings and bourbon tours and have this whole bourbon community around me? And every time I do something with that, I have the ability to add more people. And by the way, the more people you have that you're hanging out with that love bourbon, the more bourbon you're going to be hanging out with and people that love bourbon. The Bourbon Realty. Darn right, right? I see that and I watch that on social and I'm like, that's freaking brilliant. If you love bourbon and you love people, why don't we just start building something that actually brings those people into our sphere? There's a whole cult of people. Look, guys, I was in Louisville 2 weeks ago. You want to talk about bourbon people? Holy smokes, right? It's a whole culture in Louisville, right? So start thinking about the things that you love. Now, if you're not a bourbon fan, fine. Maybe you like church stuff. Cool. I'm going to have to start doing things that get me more engaged and get me more around those people. And here's the reason why. We're all a little bit weird, our own little weird way, right? By the way, guys, I built most of my business in the early days mountain biking.
Mm.
Then I built my business doing CrossFit. Then I built my business doing triathlons. And I built my business riding a bicycle, built my business running. For me in my 30s, going into my 40s, super physically active. And I found things that made me be active. And I found people that were active in the level and the style that I wanted to be. And next thing you know, every time I went for a bike ride, I met somebody new. Every time I went for a run with the run group, I met somebody new. Every time I drove over to Pass Grill and we jump out onto the beach and we run the mile north up to Don Cesar Hotel and we'd jump in the water and we'd swim the mile back as fast as you could. I met 40 and 50 and 60 and 70 people doing that, and I would add them to my list. So number one task, guys, I want you to start thinking, evaluate, am I doing things in my business that put me in front of people that don't already know me, like me, and trust me? So what are some of the things that I could do and add to my business so that I could add people to my business? Because guys, what you don't have is a sales problem, you have a people problem. The more people I know, the more people I know. I jokingly call it the law of the more the more. The more people I know, the more people I know. The more people I know, the more people I know that have houses. The more people I know that have houses. And if I do a couple of simple things that make me look like and see, sound like and smell like and taste like they're expert, next thing you know, I have deals coming to me instead of me chasing it all the time. So what I want you to have today is I want you to have the simplest possible system to be able to have every one of you take your business to the next level and also get your business in a position where you can go out and do things that you enjoy. And the more things you do that you enjoy, the more people that you get, the more people that you get, the bigger your sphere is. The bigger your sphere is, the more sales that you get if you do the right stuff with that sphere. Good? So, number one, I want you guys to add and build plus sphere of influence. Might be like, Russ, every time I see you talking, you keep talking about this. Yeah. How many of you guys got into this real estate business? You're like, oh my gosh, I got my real estate license because I couldn't wait to be driven crazy and hounded every week to cold call people. Anybody? Anybody? Like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to be a cold caller. Please, God, give me a business where I get to call random people all the time. Anybody? No. So, but unfortunately, guys, there's a lot of people, a massive amount of people that teach this in the business all the time. This is what we get told in the business. When in fact, the reality is your most likely suspects to do business with you are in your sphere of influence. So let's make sure you guys know the numbers and the math on that. Did you guys see a statistic from National Association of Realtors last year? They surveyed thousands and thousands and thousands of sellers. And in those thousands of sellers, they asked one simple question. And that question was, how did you find the real estate agent that you did business with? And the answer was 63% of them did business with somebody knew, liked, and trusted. They did business with somebody that was in their sphere also. So guys, you say to me, Russ, well, I want to do more listings. I don't want to do more buyers. It's really hard to find a house for buyers these days. And it's just really, really challenging. I can run 5, 7, 10, 15 listings at a time, but running 5, 10, 15 buyers at a time is damn near impossible. You just run out of days. So I want to do more listings. And I keep saying, okay, you want to do more listings? You need to build your sphere of influence. You need to know more people. And then you need to position yourself as an expert so that they see you as their go-to person to help them sell their house when it's time to sell their house. Okay, are you ready for this, guys? 2 more numbers that you need to know. 1%. The other number is 8%. If you could do 40 hours of work in a week and have a 1% conversion, or do 40 hours of work a week and have an 8% conversion, which one as a business person should you be doing? You should be doing the 8% all the time, right? And here's the rub. The rub is all the time interviewing thousands and thousands and thousands of real estate agents, just like Janice O'Quinn. Interviewed thousands of them. They almost always ask, well, Russ, what are you going to do to generate leads for me? What does a company do to generate leads? How do I get leads? How many leads are you going to give me? Our industry has been ill-trained with shiny objects to say leads are going to solve your problems. Leads are not going to solve your problems. Because if you don't have a system in place to actually capture your own sphere of influence at 8 or 9 or 10%, then I can add a bunch of leads to you at 1%, and you're just going to have a pile up and you're going to have nothing that's coming off the other side of the game. So what happens is, by the way, National Association of Realtors, one of the few things that I like that they do is that they do statistics well. And they said we surveyed thousands of real estate agents that are doing lead generation. And they said, based on the lead generation that you do, what is your conversion rate? Do you track it? And what is your conversion rate? And the ones that track it, not the hacks that are winging it, the ones that track it, which are the more judicious, more systematized version, their conversion was between 0.8 and 1.2%. You might say, well, Russ, why the range? Well, some of them had Realtor.com, some of them had Zillow, some of them had Red Door, front door, back door, left door, right door, doggy door, garage door. Depends on what company they use. They had variations, and of course, there's variations within the skill sets. But on average, it was around 1%. When we look at people that are actually closing their sphere of influence and working their sphere of influence with a system, to add value consistently. We see people closing their sphere of influence at around 8% all the time. It used to be as high as 10. So there are some people that still close it around 10, but that number has dropped down because the average American is staying in their home longer than previous. Do you know how long the average American was staying in their homes 5, 6, 7 years ago on average? How many years would a typical person stay? Plus or minus, the average American would stay in their house plus or minus around 6 or 7 years. That's normal. Do you know what it is today?
10, 12.
Yeah.
It's because the interest rates were so low a few years ago, probably.
Well,
Probably.
not necessarily. So in a normal year over the last 40, 50 years, normal is somewhere around 6 or 7. Typically, typical person stays in their house 6 or 7 years, right? Some people are doing it shorter when they're younger, and some people are doing it longer when they're older. But now
Sure.
we've got the older generation. The older generation now, part of the reason why we have supply issues is the older generation are not moving out of their house and going into the old folks' home. They're not moving out of their house and downsizing like they used to. Because what happens is they do the math today and they're like, hey, I'm sitting in my $400,000 house. And if I sell my $400,000 house and move into a 1,500 square foot house, if I'm still paying on the house, my house payment for the 1,500 square foot house is the same as my 4,000. So why even mess with it?
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that the average American is not buying a house as early as they used to. Okay, so here's another statistic that goes along with that. I don't know if you guys saw the big agent meeting on Friday. I told you guys this stat. I told this stat. 9 million people between the age of 24 and 34 are living at home or with their in-laws. 9 million. Typically,
Wow.
this demographic would be buying a house. They're not buying a house for a couple different reasons. Culturally, things have been changing. Culturally, used to be they're getting married in their 20s and starting a family and then buying the dream house and boom, boom, boom. What's happening now is people are staying single longer. They're going to college longer. They have additional other expenses that go along with it. More people are going to college. They're coming out of college with higher expenses. So they can't just go out and buy a house. So what happens is the average age used to be of first-time home buyers used to be in the high 20s. It's currently 38. First-time home buyer average now is 38, which means if they pay a mortgage for 30 years, it's 48, 58, 68 before they get their first house paid off if they stay the whole time. So what happens is we're starting to look at these things and we're starting to look at what's being told to us, and we're starting to be told, well, Russ, you need to be on TikTok. If I had $1 for every time somebody told me I needed to be on TikTok, I'd have more than $1. The problem is 38-year-old and 61-year-olds are not on TikTok. So you're marketing to a generation that isn't buying houses. So what I want you to start thinking is, as I'm going out and doing my thing, am I doing things just because that's what I'm being told, or am I doing things because somebody given me a math equation and said, hey, by the way, what should I focus on? Sphere of influence or 1% on lead generation? Oh yeah, by the way, I'm paying a crap ton of money for this. I'm paying next to nothing for this. So the ROI, return on investment, is 8 times currently by working your sphere. So guys, anybody right now think they should be doing anything other than working their sphere of influence first? Listen, if you get this converting at 8%, your sphere converting at 8%, if you want to go out and do some of this, go for it. But then what I would subject to you as a counterpoint to that would be, like, if I've got my system converting at 8% on my sphere of influence, should I be doing lead generation with random strangers, or should I grow my sphere of influence? I could spend money to get a 1% return, or I could grow my sphere and get an 8% return. So let's do some math here, guys. If I have 200 people in my sphere of influence that I know, like, and trust, I should be able to generate 16 sales from my sphere of influence. And you say, well, Russ, what if I want to do 24 sales? Well, then you have 300 people in your sphere of influence. Now you've got 24 sales, right? For every 100 people I add to my sphere of influence, I add 8 sales if I work them consistently over the next 8 to 12 months. So how many sales do you want? It's funny, my previous business partner had me do some videos for him. And I think, Kim, I've given those videos to your team before. And those videos, they're kind of humorous now because when you see those videos, like I have a full rug. All that I was out shoveling snow this morning, by the way, which is why I haven't done my hair yet. And uh, those videos were done maybe about a year and a half ago, and I had no hair at the time. Completely no hair, right? Everybody used to joke, "Oh, you're bald." And I'm like, "I'm not bald. My hair is just really short." And then I grew my hair back out, and they're like, "What the how the heck did you do that?" And then they're like, "Oh, we opened in Turkey. You went to Turkey. You're an executive for EXP. They sent you to Turkey and got a full rug on the top of your head." And he answers, "No, I just water it, and it just kept on growing like I'm more chia pet than anything else." Right? You're
Does that
welcome.
mean it's hope for me, Russ?
It's entirely possible. Just start letting it grow, dude. It'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Don't suggest John to do that. I made him shave it off. So
Yeah, yeah. So with that said, guys, the as I go into this game and I start doing the math and running the thing, we built this thing, and Adrian's like, "Can I use this? And I can use this for attraction." I'm like, "Sure." And he's like, "Well, we should change the name of it to Unlimited Closings." And I'm like, "Well, that's okay." He's like, "No, seriously, right?" It's like if you have 200 people, you can get 16. If you have 300 people, you get 24. For every 100 you add 8 more sales if you stay in touch with them and you add value to them over time. So if your conversion's around 8%, it's 8 per 100. So how many deals do you want to do? 500 people, 40 sales, right? So you start doing the math, and it's like, what you guys have, you don't have a marketing problem, you have a people problem. You have a lack of people that see you as their trusted advisor. So now, I want you guys to write down one thing that you can do where you can start hanging out with other people that are doing things that you love. Some of you guys might like music. I had one lady sitting up in the front, and she's like, "Russ, I like to read books alone." Okay, that's going to be hard to build your sphere of influence reading a book alone. However, have you ever thought of joining a book club? You can read your book alone, and then you can sit and chat with the people about the book that you just read and they just read. And she's like, "Oh, that's a good idea." Right. So now you're reading books with people that you have commonality with. Next thing you know, somebody's going to look at you and say, "Hey, John, what do you do for business?"
Mhm.
Have you guys seen me actually go through this? Have you seen me actually talk through this? How you convert that conversation when somebody asks you asks you about real estate, when you tell them you're a realtor. Have you guys heard me go through that conversation? You want me to go through it again?
do it
Yeah,
again. Do
please.
it
There's
again.
probably some new people on the call.
All right, cool. So let's keep it really simple here, guys. When I'm out and about doing whatever I'm doing, at some point I get to talking to people. They get to talking to me, and at some point I'll start the conversation. Sometimes they'll start the conversation. Other times I'll be like, "Hey, Keith, what do you do for a living?" And Keith will be like, "I do whatever, man. I'm a male model. I'm sexy, right?" I'm like, "All right, that's cool, man." And he's like, "Oh, well, hand model because I got beautiful hands." Okay, cool. That's awesome. I've never heard anybody did that. Cool, right? All right. So, and then Keith is going to say what to me?
What do
Well,
you
hey,
do?
You, Russ.
what do you do, Russ? Right? And I'm going to say back to them some version of, "I'm a realtor," right? And then they're going to do what?
Run.
They're going to want to run. In their head, they're like, "No, not another one. I just got stuck with that girl, Kim, last week. Don't do it to me again." So they're going to ask me what I do, and I'm going to say I'm a real estate agent. And then the next question out of their mouth is some variation of what?
How's the market?
It's the market, right? Almost every freaking time, you're going to have some variation of how's the market. Yes?
Yes.
So here's the rub. We were taught the wrong thing. Okay, so how many of you guys got taught to have an elevator pitch? We know this is going to happen, so you have to have an elevator pitch. Yeah. Okay, so guys, let me walk this through with you. Let me ask you guys, without being manipulative, how many of you, when somebody says how's the market, and then you give them your elevator pitch? Well, my job in the real estate business is to help people get the best sell, the price for a house, to buy the house of their dreams, or get the top dollar for a house that they're going to sell. Whatever garbage comes out of your pie hole after that. But it's your elevator pitch, right? And here's the problem: when somebody asks you a question and then you go into your elevator pitch, it is a pitch, which is a sales pitch. So, Keith, you ask me a question and then I try to pitch you something, do you typically go, oh my God, Russ, please tell me more? Has that ever happened to any of you yet? Please, please tell me more.
No.
No.
Okay. So what we do is we have an interaction, which happens all the time, and then the stuff that we've been taught, and by the way, guys, I've been taught it, and I taught it for a while until I started asking this question, hey, how often does this work for you? Because it doesn't work for me at all, and I'm not the shyest person in the world, and I tried 75 different versions of it, right? And I still never got anybody to be like, oh my gosh, tell me more. Let me give you my personal information. It never happened once. I could get people to have conversation with me and I could work them around to being able to get their information. But guys, it wasn't because they wanted it. It was because I was very good at working them through the conversation to get what I needed. So I'm now in a relationship where somebody asks me a question and I'm trying to get something from them. Typically, they're going to try to run or want to run. And by the way, did you know that after I would do follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, it was like, man, they gave me their info and then they ghosted me. Yep, you guys hear it all the time, right? So our whole industry is chock full of people teaching us dog shit that doesn't work. We as an industry have to stop teaching people. Number one, cold calling is the best way to get sales. Number two, we got to stop teaching people when somebody asks you how's the market, you need to have an elevator pitch and try to sell them something because the goal is to get their info. So listen, guys, let's be human here for a second. For those of you that have heard this before, I hope this is a great reminder. When somebody tries to engage in conversation, you try to get something, it's not a good relationship. That is not a good way to start a relationship, right? The first thing you do is try to get something from them. It's not a good relationship. So let me shift to how humans work really, really well. Not how we can manipulate them into getting into our sphere of influence. How do we get something that works really well? When somebody asks me now, how's the market? The first thing I'm going to do is offer to give them something, not get something from them. So Keith, you ask me, how's the market? My response now is, dude, funny enough, I just shot a market update last week that tells people what's going on in the market. You want me to send it to you? And now Keith says,
Sure, send it.
yes, I do. Great. And then I pick up my phone and I go, where would you like me to send it? And Keith says, what?
Send it to my, text it to me, whatever.
Whatever, right? Is he now voluntarily giving me his information so I can communicate with him? He asked me a question. I offered to answer the question. I offered to give him something that answers the question. He says yes. I asked for his info so I can send it to him because he wants it. And then I plug it into my phone. And then I don't send it to him the same day. I send it to him the next day. And the reason I send it to him the next day is because today he expects it. Tomorrow, he completely forgot about me. Right? He got home, his dog was all happy, had happy tail, happy butt, wagging his butt all over the house. And I got to take his happy little butt for a walk. And I take the dog for a walk, and then we feed the kids and we do our evening routine, go to bed. The next morning I wake up, boom, 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 boom. Next thing you know, yeah, he's like, man, I wonder when Russ is going to send me that thing. He said, he's completely forgot about me. So at around 11 a.m., I shoot it over to him. Hey, Keith, sending you the thing that I said, like I said I would. And then Keith's like, oh, I've completely forgot about that. Cool, let me take a quick look at it. And then I can do a follow-up. Hey, by the way, did you catch the part about, or did you catch that one number? That's huge. That's been a big shift. I hope you're doing good. Couple quick follow-ups. Now I've built a relationship where Keith starts to see me as his expert. He asked me a question. I responded like an expert. I gave him some expert information, and then I followed up like an expert. Now Keith and I are starting to build a relationship where he's like, wow, this guy's giving me good stuff, right? And then also, hey, by the way, Keith, I'll send this something version of this over to you every month. You don't always have to look at it, but like if you had a stock that was $450,000, you'd probably check on it once in a while. Just pop into here once in a while and take a look at it and see how things are going. If something's going weird, you'll see me screaming from the rooftops, sell, 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 or buy, 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 right? We're crashing, right? You'll hear me telling you what's going on. Now you have somebody can teach you what's going on in the market. Good? And Keith's like, this is kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
All right, so guys, we go into the system and we start having these fundamental conversations. We make this real estate business so freaking ridiculously hard because we're not doing the simple things that actually make simple things happen, which is people go, hey, you're my expert. Now when I need something, I'm calling that Russ dude because he's my expert. Okay, so build your sphere of influence. So step one in your system right now, if you say, I'm just going to stop doing everything, John, I'm not going to do any more of this other BS anymore. I'm just going to go, okay, number one, get my sphere together. My sphere should be able to convert at around 8% if I work it consistently over time. And did you notice I just gave you a technique to work your sphere every single month? Guys, we're starting to have a system, right? Add some people, add value. 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 Then follow-up call. Hey, Keith, just want to touch base with you. I sent over a market update yesterday. Did you see that? And Keith's like, yeah, man. In fact, I did see that. I'm like, did you catch the part where I was saying the market is currently flat? It's flattened out a little bit. Here's the thing. In our market here, we have a low supply. Still, we have a low supply. So the sales and the listings have balanced out, but we still have a low supply, which means if these interest rates do anything or drop down at all, or some of these 9 million people get off their butt and decide to buy a house, that inventory is going to crash back down, which is going to keep driving prices up. So if you're thinking about doing something, or you know somebody's thinking about doing something, they should have done it 5 years ago. By the way, do you guys know where are most of you guys based out of?
We're all over.
All over.
All over. We got California, Georgia, Ohio, Tennessee, Illinois, all over. California. If I didn't say that, I think I said that.
You didn't say that?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, can I teach you something about sales right now?
Please.
Watch this. If you have something people want, they'll want it.
Yeah.
Wow, Russ. We should nominate you for Rocket Surgeon of the Year. He's like, you're obviously into rocket surgery. Guys, we're making this too complicated. Sales is simple. If you have something people want, they'll want it. Let me show you how that works. Hey, Kim, would you like me to tell you exactly how much the state of Georgia has appreciated in the last 5 years?
Oh, I would love that. I would love to know.
71%. Anybody else got a state they want to know the number on?
Tennessee.
Tennessee, take me to another land. Okay, sorry, wrong song. 76.1.
All right.
76.1. What? Janice Quinn's like, I'm trying to type Kentucky, 55.1. California? You want California? 47.8% in the last 5 years. Anybody else?
Florida.
Where?
Florida.
Oh, Florida. 80.9.
Whoa.
Indiana, 61.9. Michigan, 55.3. You guys want to know a really big one? This was a mind blower. Ready?
Texas.
No, Texas,
I'm
55.
guessing that was it.
55.8.
Okay, I'm off.
You want a shocker? This one, would you guys like to know the one that shocked me the most? 91.3% appreciation over the last 5 years. What state is that?
Kansas City. I'm just kidding. Missouri, Arizona.
Missouri was 58.7. No, Idaho.
Idaho.
What? Idaho, 91.3% appreciation in the last 5 years. Guys, that is astronomical. Absolutely astronomical. That's the number one on the whole chart. And by the way, all I do is I have this little thing on my phone. Okay, guys, want me to teach you something about sales?
You got to share that thing. What is it on your phone that we all can?
I'm not sharing nothing.
Yeah.
That's mine. My precious. Do you see what I just did there, guys? You guys are in the real estate business. You guys should know this information. You should have a resource for this information. I just had most of you on the seat of your freaking chair is sitting all the way on the front edge of your chair. And it's not because I'm the smartest guy in the room by a mile. I literally just opened something up and read it to you. That's it. I don't have to actually know anything. I can just have things I can look at like, hey, do you want to know what that is? But you see how when you get to the point where you're like, that's interesting information. Keith's like, well, man, I don't know if I should buy or like, I will prompt this conversation. A lot of people, Keith, when they ask me how's the market, they're trying to figure out like, should I buy? Should I not buy? Should I be selling? Is now a good time to buy? Is not a good time to buy? A lot of people don't know the answers to that. So what I do is I try to become a resource so that anytime you're like, should I or shouldn't I do something? You're going to probably either know because you've been watching my stuff, or you're going to know you could just ask me and I'll show you why. Think about it like this. Keith, 71%, okay? 71%. So what market are you in, Keith?
I'm in the DC, Maryland, Virginia market.
Oh yeah, you guys are gonna have a rough ride in the next couple of weeks. Woo! Okay. All right. So I'm not very good at math here, so I'm gonna keep it fairly simple. Five on a $500,000 house, that would be 71 times 71 times over the last 5 years. So what's 71% of 500?
You testing me?
Yeah, 71 times. Yeah, 71% of 500. So it'd be 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 7 is 35. 35. So it's 350,000.
355.
355.
Okay. And I was ballparking. Okay. So over the last 5 years, that property value went up $350,000. So Keith, are you renting right now? Not
No.
say yes.
Yes.
How much are you paying for rent?
Right now in this area, you're paying about 2,500.
Okay, so let's just call it 2 because it's easier for me to do the math.
That's not true.
20,
I didn't want to be. It's really about 3,000. But let's go.
Just say
Go
probably closer to 3.
Use your
Okay,
numbers.
so 3 is good. Okay, so $36,000 a year. So over the last 5 years, what's 5 times 36? Let's just say it's 160 something. Okay, so the house value in your market went up 350, and your rent cost you 160 over last year, over last 5 years. So now you're looking at 510. So basically, over the last 5 years, you put yourself $510,000 behind financially. So let me ask you, Keith, do you think now's a good time to buy a house? Well,
Yeah.
what if house prices go down a little bit? Keith, let me ask you a question. If you bought a house now and it went down $20,000 every year for the next 5 years, would you have a problem with that?
Huh.
No.
You wouldn't have a problem when your house value went down 100 grand in 5 years?
Yeah, I have a problem with that.
Okay. So your fear is that your house value goes down over the next 5 years, it goes down? Yeah, that's a fear for you? Yeah. Cool. Great. So right now you're going down 160,000 in 5 years. You're going down 36,000 a year every year right now, and you're worried about 20? If it's less than $36,000 a year you lose on that house, you're ahead.
Right. Good point.
So, as we're having these conversations, guys, just being able to have a small piece of information like this, having things like this at your fingertips so that you can actually talk to people. And instead of me just telling them something, I want to show them something. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll be like, you guys see what I did? I held it up. And you're like, oh, it's not me just making crap up. Now you're like, oh, wow, that's real. So we as salespeople have to show people, not just tell people. I'm going to show them, right? So here's the weird part. You want me to really mess you up? What if you bought that house in 1991? Because by the way, guys, there was an article that came out in 2021 that says study finds that homeownership does not contribute towards long-term wealth. I'm like, what are these people nuts? Okay, Georgia since 1991, housing has appreciated 305%, 305.8% to be exact. So is owning a house long-term a good idea?
Great idea.
Do you see how I'm just using some simple things and a couple of really simple tools to have a completely different conversation? By the way, here's my chart with blue. This is my since 1991. I thought that was fascinating. So I throw it in my phone, right? And then of course I've got my green one right here at my fingertip. So I could just pop this puppy open. Boom, there's my green one, right? 5 year. So I got my 5 year and my 1991. Do you see how when I'm out and about goofing off and I engage with somebody, I'm not selling them anything? I'm just like, hey man, by the way, do you know how much the average house has appreciated in the last 5 years in Georgia? And they're like, no, like 71%. That means like a $500,000 house went up $350,000 in the last 5 years. You guys have heard the phrase, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer? Because if you owned a house, you're up $350,000 net. Now, you can't cash that out and go buy something with it today unless you do a home equity loan or something, but you've kind of locked it up for long term. So if you have an extra $350,000 in your pocket, Would you think that'll help you get to retirement faster where you don't have to trade time for money anymore?
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to own a home. And people go, oh, holy crap, that's a big deal. And that's today's stats, not the good old days, not the 90s, not 2000, not 2010. That's today. That's going on right now. So I'm saying get in, find a way to get in. Do you see how we're changing the way we communicate? Basic stuff. Now, when I communicate with Keith like this, Keith's like, dude, I like talking to that guy. That guy's smart. Well, I don't know about smart, but I got some really good info that he found interesting, right? Hey, by the way, if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Right now, I got people saying, like, that's my guy. By the way, they're saying to their friends, that's our guy. That's the guy, right? So sphere of influence, every single month you should be adding people, and every single month you should be doing a market update. Every single month you should be doing a market update that tells people what's going on in the market, even just so you have it at the tip of your fingers. So when Keith says, how's the market? You're like, hey, you know what? I just pulled that info yesterday. You want me to send it to you? Yeah. Now do you see a scenario where I could join a bowling league, I could join a book club, I could join a walking group, I could join an underwater BB stacking thing? Like you could join anything, and when people are out and about, you start making connections, and then people start adding this. So now this is my business plan. So instead of spending money on leads, I'm going to go out and do some things that I enjoy, and I'm going to build my business with intention. Good? Okay, so would you guys like 8 modules on exactly how to do this? I'll give you the same modules I gave to Kim last time I saw her. 8 modules
Yes.
on exactly how to run 3 recipes with this. I'll tell you a brief on recipe 2 and a brief on recipe 3. Okay, so go to this, go to jumpstartmasterclass.com, jumpstartmasterclass.com.
Julie, can you put that in the chat, please?
I was going to say, if somebody could type it in chat, jumpstartmasterclass.com, and there's 8 modules. You're going to go in there, you're going to have to register. It's a thing called School, SKOOL. And you can register, jumpstartmasterclass.com. Yeah. So you go in there and you'll have to register, and then I'll let you guys in. This is a free back end version of a paid thing that my buddy sells occasionally. That's called unlimited closings because it literally has the ability to build unlimited closings, right? So yeah, there's a Jumpstart Masterclass. So he made this version for me that I give away to you guys. I've given it away to 1,200 people already. Okay, Adrian Petrillo is my buddy. Click join the group. You put in your basic info. Just put EXP in there, please. When it says, yeah, you'll set your thing up. Good. And you plug in your thing there. Okay, just gobbledygook, whatever. Right. So you can jump in there, and then when you get into there, I'll accept your thing. Actually, if you want to stay in there for a second, I can try to accept it right now.
Yeah. We're going to show everybody.
Yep. There we go. Okay, I got to go in. 4 membership requests already. Katie Schrum, boom, approved. Britannia, boom, approved. Jeremy, boom, approved. Katrina, boom, approved. Okay. So I approve you guys in there, and once you're approved, there's a little thing at the top that says classroom. Actually, what name did you come
Hey,
in?
John, I didn't get
Okay.
approved.
Okay. Nicholas, yeah, it takes a second sometimes. My phone's not the fastest
It's
here.
all right.
All right, I've approved everything that came in so far. Those might have been in from a day before. Sometimes it'll take a minute. Okay, so when you go in there, there's a little tab at the top, and it'll say 8 modules. My top poses. 8 modules are in classroom tab at the top. So you hit the classroom tab, and when you hit the classroom tab, it opens up this beautiful picture here. Because unlimited closings is the same thing, but this is my back end access for this, and there's no charge for this, and there's nothing being sold in there at all, guys. Not for you guys, at least. Okay, so Unlimited Closings Academy, right there. So you click on that. So all I got to do is just click on that thing, and there's module 1. Boom. There's module 1. This has got a little bit of mindset, and it gets into building your business and how to build a sphere of influence business. Okay. Do like 1 module a week, guys. Some of them are 10 minutes. Okay. Do 1 module a week for the next 8 weeks. Next thing you know, your business is going to start to blow up because you'll be doing the right things and adding the right people. Put your sphere together, add value to them. Okay. Second recipe that's in there is building out a preferred contractor list. Guys, we work on houses. We work around houses. Houses are broken, all of them. When I've got a listing, something's going to break while the thing is listed. When I've got a listing, they're going to come in and do a home inspection, find a whole list of things wrong with the house. If I've got some contractors that can help solve some of those problems, I now become a solution. I'm not part of the problem. So when somebody comes in, they're like, we got this list of stuff that's busted on the house, and the realtor's like, oh my gosh, we're not touching anything. It's like, well, you have two choices. I've got my guy Wally. My guy Wally will come in and take care of a punch list of 10 items. You know, that stupid window with the stupid window balancer that pops loose? He'll fix that. The one doesn't lock properly. He'll fix that. The one thing sealed, the seal around the edge is busted. He'll seal that. He'll recaulk around the tub. He'll fix that one door that won't close. He'll fix that one outlet that doesn't have the cover plate on it that's in the attic and nobody knows why it's there and how it got there. He'll also straighten out the double tap that shouldn't be double tapped. Okay, he'll do that for like $400. He's there for 5 hours. Like, that is a solution. So now we don't have a problem. We got a little list of things, and Wally can take care of that for $400. So do we want to fight over a bunch of little nickel and dime things, or we want to have just Wally come over and handle it? Well, sometimes having Wally come over and handle it's a great idea. Okay, if I have the buyer, list of things they're going to get, they're going to freak out, but I've already scripted them. We're going to find a whole list of things wrong with this house. It's normal. Even when we do a brand new house, we find a list of things wrong with the house. So when we see this, GFI not working, we got the double tap, we got the one balancer and the window is messed up, the caulk needs to be done, the little list of stupid stuff. If we see that, we're just going to nod our heads and say, yes, 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 let's buy this house. Let's go. And I've got a guy that can help you tackle a lot of that stuff after the fact. Now I become a resource. Guys, do you know how often the average American moves right now? Did you catch that earlier? How often?
7 years
10.
or 10. Yeah, it's up to 10.
10. Okay. So if 4 things on a house break every year and they're moving every 10 years, that's 40 things break on their house in the time between the time they're living in there and the time that they're selling. So that means you have 40 times more touch, because if they start to see me as a go-to person, like, hey, I got an issue with the house, I'm going to reach out to Russ because he knows everybody. If they reach out to me for a plumber, they're going to reach out to me when it's time to sell their house too. Keep in mind, because they're getting my markup update every month. I'm staying top of mind. I'm a resource. Now I also have the ability to go out on social media and start helping other people build their businesses instead of me looking like a self-serving jerk, just building my own business. So, hey, I got my buddy named Keith. He's a plumber. He shows up on time, does a good job, is a fair price, and communicates well. He keeps his pants pulled up. If you need a plumber, call my guy Keith. Now I can promote Keith's business, and I'm Russ, the real estate dude, promoting Keith's business, and everybody's like, that Russ guy's pretty cool. He promotes everybody else's business. So you become known as the person helping other people and connecting other people, and people are going to love you for it. Now, you have to do this with intention. You have to do this consistently. So think about it like this. Add 5 people to your sphere every week. Send everybody a market update. I'm going to do 2 posts a week for social saying, hey, use this person, build this person. Or I'll say, hey, I've got one good plumber named Keith. He's amazing, but he's also busy. I need a backup guy. So when Keith isn't available, who do you guys know? And next thing you know, I've got people that are engaging with me. I like to see this done on Instagram and TikTok, or Instagram and Facebook. And the reason being is because, by the way, most of these people that are doing this stuff are in both of those platforms. I want them to see me building a business on the platform where they're going to see me. I want them to see me adding value on a platform where they're going to see me. Okay, so I can start building my whole business that way. A lot of people got away from Facebook, which is great, which is meaning there's a lot less noise because other people are other places making noise. So now we have more clarity, and that's part of where you can build that community. So now you've got a couple of different recipes: doing a real estate market update, add your sphere, build your market update, build a contractor list. And then the third one is social done right, promote other people's businesses. I'm going to promote other people's businesses, and I'm also going to go out and I'm going to talk good stuff about other people's business. So if I go to this little place called Yellow Dog in Orlando, went to a little restaurant called Yellow Dog. Anybody ever been there? Yellow Dog Restaurant. If you're ever in Orlando, it's a cool little place. Looks like a rundown house. Looks like it might have needed to be bulldozed a couple years ago. They propped it back up and built a cool restaurant in there. Indoor, outdoor seating. You can get some really, really amazing food. Some funny stuff on the menu. Read the menu because it's actually funny. Whoever built that menu has a really good sense of humor. And if you get there at the right time, you can actually have lunch in a Volkswagen Bug in the Volkswagen bus in the back. They got a table with a bunch of seats around in a Volkswagen in the backyard. It's freaking hilarious. So when I go to Yellow Dog, I'm like, not only is this a great place, good food, interesting ambiance, but man, read the menu. It's funny. Check this out. I had the Monte Cristo. It was fantastic. So if you're ever in town, check out Yellow Dog. Now I'm Russ the Realtor doing cool stuff versus Russ the Realtor saying, look at me, I just sold a house. Look at me. Let me tell you how great I am. Okay. I'm going to start doing things around the market, around my market, that shows I'm out in the market and I'm supporting local businesses in the market, and people start to think I'm awesome. Good.
This has been outstanding. A lot of basics, a lot of basic stuff that, I've had people texting me and stuff saying, this stuff is great, just basic stuff. And everybody needs to get back to the basics all the time because I think people
Mhm.
get lost, kind of like you said, chasing the shiny object syndrome.
Yeah. Remember, we got to go back to evaluate. Am I doing these simple things that are most likely to get me to that 8% conversion? If I'm not, then I need to start eliminating a bunch of this other nonsense and noise and cost and expense and time. And then I need to execute on a plan that has the most simple stuff that's going to work well. Guys, like, do the simple stuff well. The rest of it takes care of itself.
Yeah.
I would like to say this. Have you ever seen a plan so complicated it's got to work? Nope. Right? Super, super simple. And you can literally build this living a cool life.
This has been awesome.
All right. That's all I got for today. I got to go out and shovel snow again. It's snowing more.
Oh, wow.
Well, thank you
Well,
so much, Russ, for
Thank
taking
you,
me
Russ.
out of a holiday today. I mean, when I booked him, I totally forgot it's a holiday. He's like showing up
Thanks.
anyway. So thank
When I
you.
accepted, I forgot I didn't
Oh.
know it was a holiday. And I'm like, oh, man, I had a whole day off. Yeah,
Hey,
Barbie,
Jim,
Thank
hey,
you, Russ.
Russ, Jim Lambright's going to lend you his flamethrower if you
I would,
want.
I could totally use that. That would be cool.
So,
Thank you
Really,
so
like,
much, Russ.
a couple bourbons and a flamethrower. That sounds like a great recipe.
send him up to Russ, Jim.
Thank
So,
you.
Russ, thanks again for being here, guys. Again, next week, we've got Tony Williams going to be covering Google reviews.
Oh, man.
So bring a friend. It doesn't matter if what brokerage they're with. There's no cost to attend these, as everybody knows. And we would love to have you there next week. And thanks again, Russ, for adding value to our community at Grow Global here. We really appreciate you showing up and showing out, my friend.
Easy.
Thank you, Russ.
See you guys.
Again.
Thanks, Russ. It was
Bye.
fabulous.
Great stuff.
Good
Great
day.
stuff.
Great.
Good job.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.